4,000 years ago, there were cities in South Asia with indoor plumbing, covered sewage drains, and standardized building codes. While most of the ancient world was still living in mud-brick huts with no sanitation at all, these cities were bigger than anything in Egypt or Mesopotamia at the time, spread across a territory larger than Western Europe. They had public baths, engineered docks for maritime trade, and a system of standardized weights so precise that merchants across hundreds of kilometers were all measuring goods against the same scale. And then around 1900 BC, they disappeared. No war, no invasion, no mass graves, no burning. Just silence. The Indus Valley civilization is one of the largest and most sophisticated cultures of the ancient world, and it is also the one we understand least, because we still cannot read a single word they ever wrote. At its height, between around 2600 and 1900 BC, the Indus Valley civilization covered more than 1 million square kilometers across what is now Pakistan and northwestern India. It supported somewhere between 4 and 6 million people across more than 1,000 settlements, making it, at its peak, the most populous civilization on Earth. Its two best-studied cities, Mohenjo-Daro in present-day Pakistan and Harappa in Punjab, were each home to roughly 40,000 people, larger than most medieval European cities that came 1,000 years later. And when archaeologists began excavating these cities in the 1920s, what they found genuinely unsettled historians of ancient urban life. The streets were laid out on a cardinal-aligned grid, north-south and east-west, with wide main avenues and smaller lanes subdividing the residential blocks, like a city that had been planned rather than grown. Every brick used in construction across both cities followed the same strict proportional ratio: 1 unit thick, 2 units wide, 4 units long. And this standardization was not accidental. It was enforced across hundreds of kilometers of urban fabric. Private homes had bathrooms connected to a system of covered street drains running below the road surface, with manholes at regular intervals for cleaning and maintenance. This level of municipal sanitation engineering did not appear in Mediterranean cities for another 1,500 years. Rome, which history credits with advanced infrastructure, came after. At Mohenjo-Daro, there was a structure archaeologists call the Great Bath, a watertight tank 12 meters long, 7 meters wide, and 2.5 meters deep, set into a monumental platform and accessed by stone steps. It was waterproofed with bitumen, a tar-like substance applied to the brick lining, and it has not leaked in 4,500 years. At the coastal site of Lothal in present-day Gujarat, archaeologists identified what they believe is the world's earliest known dockyard, a carefully engineered brick structure built to berth ships for trade across the Arabian Sea. At Dhalavira, also in Gujarat, 16 separate reservoirs of varying sizes were cut into the rock and connected through a sophisticated network of stormwater channels to capture and store rainfall. The standardized weights used by Indus merchants followed a precise binary endoctrinal system: weights of 1, 2, 5, 10, 20, 50, 100, 200, 500, and 1,000 units, using polished stone blocks cut to consistent proportions across the entire civilization. This is not the picture of a primitive culture. This is the picture of a society that had solved engineering problems that many later civilizations never even attempted. And yet, of the 4 great Bronze Age civilizations, Egypt, Mesopotamia, the Shang dynasty in China, and the Indus Valley, only the Indus remains completely unread. Their script, found on thousands of small square seals made of carved stone, consists of around 400 distinct symbols, possibly more, and the longest inscription ever found runs to only 26 signs. There is no Rosetta Stone for the Indus script. There is no bilingual inscription. There is no key. We have their weights but not their laws. We have their seals but not their names. We can describe in detail how they engineered their drainage systems, and we have no idea what gods they prayed to while they built them. If the Indus script were ever deciphered, an entire chapter of human history would open at once. The intellectual life, the religion, the politics, and the literature of the largest civilization of the ancient world, currently locked behind symbols no one can read. What we can say is what happened to their trading network. Indus seals have been recovered at Sumerian sites in Mesopotamia, including the city of Ur, and Indus carnelian beads have been traced as far as the Persian Gulf, evidence of a long-distance maritime trade network operating across the Arabian Sea more than 4,000 years ago. And then, around 1900 BC, the mature Harappan phase ends. The cities thin out. The population disperses. The brick-built urban fabric is slowly covered by soil and silence. The collapse was not a single catastrophic event. Modern scholarship treats it as a long, complex decline running across centuries. The leading explanation today points to climate change. Around 2200 to 1900 BC, the Indian summer monsoon weakened significantly as part of a global dry event known as the 4.2 kiloyear event, which affected many civilizations around the same period. With weaker monsoon rainfall, the agricultural base that fed millions of people across the Indus plain would have slowly contracted. Tectonic activity also shifted river channels. The Ghaggar-Hakra River, which fed several eastern Indus settlements, dried out and rerouted, cutting off water supplies that entire cities depended on. Some scholars have proposed epidemic disease, compounded by the sanitation challenges of densely packed urban environments, as a contributing factor, though this remains debated. What is clear from the archaeological record is that the population did not die in place. They migrated, mostly eastward into the upper Gangetic Plain, where late Harappan material culture survives in smaller village settlements. There is something else that sets the Indus Valley apart from every other ancient civilization at this scale. There are no palaces, no royal tombs, no monumental inscriptions crediting a king. Egypt built pyramids. Mesopotamia built ziggurats and palace complexes. The Indus Valley built drains, baths, granaries, and standardized civic infrastructure, and left almost no trace of individual rulers or elite display. Some archaeologists read this as evidence of a more egalitarian political structure. Others read it as simply a different cultural priority, a civilization that invested in shared infrastructure rather than monumental personal legacy. Either way, it means that even if the script were deciphered tomorrow, we might find a society that recorded trade and ritual, but deliberately left no record of kings, which would be, in itself, one of the most unusual stories in the entire history of human civilization. What collapsed in 1900 BC was not just a set of cities. It was a way of organizing human life at scale that the ancient world would not see again for centuries, and a written record that has never been opened. If you want to go deeper on the other great civilizations that rose and collapsed in this same era, and why the pattern of sudden silence keeps repeating across cultures that seemed, on the surface, completely unrelated, the next video is waiting for you on screen right now.